Good morning, all of you. Welcome back to the online sessions on signals and systems. In the previous class, we have ended our class with the Dirichlet conditions to end up the Fourier series representations. So, what is Dirichlet conditions? They are the conditions normally applied to represent a Fourier series. That means, if at all a Fourier series is going to exist, it should satisfy the Dirichlet conditions. So, there are three Dirichlet conditions we discussed. What is that? The Fourier series should have a finite number of discontinuities. See, if you take this as a signal now, periodic signal, so every periodic signal is can be almost all the periodic. That means whichever signal you represent with the Fourier series, it should be a periodic signal. A non-periodic signals cannot be represented by using a Fourier series. So here, a Fourier series is represented for a periodic signal definitely. So therefore, the first point we discussed that it is going to have the finite number of discontinuities. See here from 0 it has got discontinuity as going to 1. At this point once again it is coming to 0, and at this point once again it is coming to another value. It is changing. That means how many discontinuities I have really found here? 1, 2, 3 discontinuities. Now this particular 3 discontinuities should get repeated for every time period. If it is so, then it is going to satisfy the first Dirichlet conditions. So next Dirichlet condition is going to be what now? It should have a finite number of maximas and minimas. So in this time interval t, how many maximums it is having? One maximum. It is going to have say one minimum. So it is going to have one maxima, one minima, and that should be the case for the entire duration of the cycle. Then it is going to be the second Dirichlet conditions, and third one is going to be the signal should have an absolute integrable value. That means if you integrate the absolute value of this signal over the interval 0 to t, it should give us a value. So that means we have written this as integral of mod f of t dt should be less than infinity. So that is what a third Dirichlet conditions. So if at all any Fourier series, any signal which is going to satisfy these three conditions, we can say that that particular signal can be represented using the Fourier series. So that is what the Dirichlet conditions we discussed. And next, we have went into the Fourier transform representation. So what is a Fourier transform? Fourier transform is a mathematical tool used to transform the time domain signal into the frequency domain signal. So in order to convert that, we have straight away used the mathematical form. So what is the mathematical form that we have used in the last class? So this is the mathematical form we have used. X of omega is equal to integral of x of t e power minus j omega t dt. So this form directly we have written here with the concept of the Fourier transforms. So this equation, as we discussed in the previous class, it is given by a mathematician, and being engineers, we are using it as a tool, and we use this as a tool to represent the Fourier transform. And whenever engineer is going to model any physical system, he is going to model the physical system based on this particular mathematical analysis. So here we are doing some little bit of mathematical analysis in order to transform the signal in the time domain to into the frequency domain. All right. So now x of omega, we have written it as integral of x of t e power minus j omega t dt. What is the meaning of this particular equation? The meaning is simply something like x of t is multiplied with e power minus j omega t. What is the meaning of it? Here we have to represent the entire signal in terms of its frequency components. Entire signal in terms of its frequency components. What is the meaning of that particular thing? So if you represent this signal as we discussed in the last class, now this is the signal actually I have. So in this signal, I want to represent this signal in the frequency domain. So to represent this on the frequency domain, we are simply multiplying this x of t with e power minus j omega t. So what is that e power minus j omega t? It is simply including all the components on the j omega axis. On the j omega axis. For example, if this horizontal line is taken as a omega axis, and this entire vertical line, we consider it, if we take the entire horizontal line as the omega axis, The entire vertical line we consider as a j omega axis. That is called imaginary. Whenever we write something with j omega, j I, j k, all these are what? They are called imaginary quadrants. So therefore, on the imaginary axis, we are considering the exponential part, which means complex part. Exponential means what? It consists of a complex part. What is e power j theta? E power j theta is equal to cos theta plus j sin theta. E power minus j theta is equal to cos theta minus j sin theta. That is a formula which we already know. Now we simply multiply this x of t with these complex components. Now by multiplying it like that, what we get? We get all the components which are simply which are going to exist along with the signal nearby the signal. So once we why we have to consider this e power minus j omega I have to multiply with e power minus j omega t, because whenever we transmit any signal through a system or through a free space, this signal is normally going to get mixed with the noise. So therefore, the noise, where the noise is going to exist, noise is going to exist everywhere always. So therefore, since we have to consider all noises which is around the signal, we simply going to multiply this with e power minus j omega t. This is an important concept you have to remember in the mind, and whenever a transform equation is there, you have to write it like this only. So therefore, x of omega is equal to, we write this as integral of x of t e power minus j omega t dt over the limits minus infinity to plus infinity. This is a representation of the Fourier series, which is going to tell us that it is going to transform a time domain signal to a frequency domain signal. That means RHS is made equal to the LHS. So whatever you provide on the left hand side, it's going to have a L value, which expects a value, from the right hand side equation. So here this right hand side, what I have, time domain signal, because it is x of t. It is converted into x of omega. Omega means frequency. What is omega? 2 pi f. We already know that. So this omega is normally frequency component. So therefore, we are simply converting, not converting exactly, we say we are simply transforming the time domain signal into the frequency domain. So converting means what? The entire shape is going to change. Here we are not converting, we are simply transforming. That means we are simply changing the form of representing the signal. That is only the thing we normally going to do in the case of the Fourier transforms. Now, similar kind of a expression we just simply represented as omega. If you represent with the 2 pi f, I can write it like this. So here x of f we have written. X of 2 pi f we have written because 2 pi is a constant. So therefore, whenever we write something in this x of function representation, the variable value we write. The variable value we write. Say variable is frequency, therefore we write it as x of f. Right. So this is the representation we can have for this case. And we discussed about how do we get this inverse Fourier transform. When a Fourier transformed mathematical equation is given to us, how do we get the time domain signal? So that is nothing but equal to same integral of x of omega into e power minus j omega t d omega. Exactly reverse operation we are doing. Exactly reverse operation we are doing with respect to the time domain conversion. See here in time domain, we are multiplying with time signal with e power minus j omega t. Now to convert from frequency domain, now I got a frequency domain signal x of omega. From this frequency domain signal, I want to get a time domain signal. What I am doing, exactly reverse I am doing. Reverse means what? I am simply going to take the conjugate of this particular function e power minus j omega t. So I can write this as e power minus j has become simply e power plus j. This dt has become d omega because our variable is on x of omega. And the mean value is going to be 1 by 2 pi because we are considering the 2 pi radians. 2 pi radians means what? Completion of one cycle. The meaning of 2 pi radians is nothing but completion of one cycle. So we have to consider completion of one cycle to represent a signal x of t. Okay, so this is what the Fourier transform x of omega Fourier transform. X of t is equal to, all this is going to be the reverse Fourier transform or inverse Fourier transform. So by doing so, we can say that x of small x of t and capital X of omega are normally going to form a Fourier transform pair. So this is what we discussed in the last class. And we represented about a periodic signal. So periodic signal is the signal which is going to get repeated itself for every time period t over infinite duration. That is called a periodic signal. What is a periodic signal? The aperiodic signal is not going to get repeated itself. Okay, it's called a aperiodic signal. So that means here after this single pulse, nothing is there here. Means what? It is not getting repeated. So for all time period t is equal to infinite under consideration, this value is not repeating. That means this pulse is not repeating. So as this pulse is not, see, this t is equal to infinity means what? It is the time under consideration of the system. If the system is going to consider the limit of t is equal to say 1 second, up to 1 second, there should not be any change in the signal. That is what called meaning of saying, finite time interval considered by the system. So because who will process the signal? It is the system is going to process the signal. So therefore these time constraints will be applied by the system on the signal, right? So you should think in that particular perspective. You should think the signal analysis or implementation of the signal is normally going to get processed in the system. So system is going to implement its operations based on the signal as the input. So this is what we have discussed. So most important thing is that these two equations, x of omega is equal to integral of x of t into e power minus j omega t dt, and x of t is equal to 1 by 2 pi integral of x of omega into e power j omega t d omega over the limits minus infinity to plus infinity in either cases. So this is what the difference is what the integral equations for the Fourier transforms and inverse Fourier transform. So these two you have to compulsorily remember for the examination point of view. Sometimes problems will be given, sometimes theory will be given. So you should be ready to get into the concept. Okay. Now we have derived this expression for the Fourier transforms based on the exponential Fourier series. So exponential Fourier series is what now? Exponential Fourier series is going to represent the periodic signal over the limit minus infinity to plus infinity. And that minus infinity to plus infinity, which is what infinite time period signal, is simply constrained to a finite time period signal. So this infinite time period means what? If you observe this, we gave you the signal now. See, this signal is now infinite time period signal is simply shrinked or is simply compressed to a finite time signal. So that means we can get this finite time period signal from the infinite time period signal, definitely. So that signal is that confined signal is known as a periodic signal. So this confinement is decided by whom? By the system properties, of course. So therefore this infinity does not mean that it is going to be infinity forever and ever. So it is as per as the system understanding the time limit, time bound that we consider. So that is what we have to consider here. Okay. So we have started with a Fourier exponential Fourier series, very simple derivation here. So you should remember the exponential Fourier series representation, which can also be called as a weak Dirichlet conditions. So at the most, the signal should satisfy the weak Dirichlet conditions so that it can be represented by using the Fourier series representations. So which is what known as a exponential Fourier series, also known as a weak Dirichlet conditions. So very important concept here. So now we just simply start with this particular representation. So exponential Fourier series, what is the representation? X of t for t. What is the meaning of this capital T on the suffix? It tells that it is a periodic signal. So x of t is periodic because it is suffixed by capital T, is equal to sigma of Cn into e power j n omega naught t. What is the meaning of this particular thing now? We are representing the signal x of t in terms of its coefficients Cn and the complex components e power j n omega naught t. So this is the representation of the Fourier series using exponential notation. Now Cn already we discussed about Cn derivation. So Cn is equal to 1 by t integral of x of t. Cn means we should represent in terms of this x of t of the periodic signal, right? So e power minus j, apply reverse of this, e power minus j n omega naught t dt. So once we get this, this is going to be derived, this is going to be written by seeing into this particular thing. Okay. Well, now, and omega naught is equal to 2 pi by t we discussed already. So therefore, I'll take this t onto this side on the LHS side. So t into Cn is equal to, I can just simply represent like this. Now we apply the conditions here to confine the infinite time domain signal to a confined time domain signal, right? That means we string the time axis. So here, when you string the time axis here, what happens now? As t tends to infinity, this n into omega naught tends to omega. That is under consideration. So as t tends to infinity, what is the formula we have? Omega naught is equal to 2 pi by t, general formula. T is equal to infinity means what? 0. 0 means what? It is becoming 0. That means what? We simply convert this particular omega naught as a differential component, because it is simply coming down based on the value of t. So therefore, I can write this equation as what now? X of t as it is, I am writing with for over a time interval t, and it is extending between minus t by 2 plus t by 2, or the limit t tends to infinity. So this t tends to infinity is bounded by the system. It is not like infinity means infinity forever. So into e power minus j, n omega naught is nothing but is equal to omega we have taken dt, and same thing has been simply represented here, and this limit will be taken inside because it is limit is applied only to the periodic signal under consideration. So we apply, we just simply transfer this over here. Now, if the signal is periodic signal, then it should satisfy the condition x of t should be equal to x of t based on the periodicity property. So I can simply write down like this here, is equal to, now what is the equation for this now? It is the Fourier series representation. Therefore, this entire part, integral of x of t into e power minus j omega dt over the interval over the limits minus t by 2 to plus t by 2. So here infinity is taken as t. So minus t by 2 plus t by 2. It is known as the Fourier transform representation, which is known as x of omega. So finally, I can write this as t into Cn is equal to x of omega. So what is x of omega? I can write as x of omega is equal to simply x of omega is equal to, now this is nothing but my x of omega. So finally, I can write as x of omega is equal to this equation. This is the equation of the Fourier transform representation. So next part is what? Reverse, inverse Fourier transform. For inverse Fourier transform also, we start with this exponential Fourier series. So this is the exponential Fourier series basic equation, where this x of t represents the periodic signal, and this is nothing but component of this particular signal Cn. So x of t is equal to Cn. Now in the above equation, we have got the Cn is equal to x of omega by t. So Cn in terms of x of omega we are writing here, because we need to get the inverse Fourier transform. So therefore, Cn is equal to x of omega by t. I can write t is equal to 2 pi radians. T is equal to, there is a formula that is 2 pi by omega naught. So omega naught is equal to 2 pi by t. So therefore, t is equal to 2 pi by omega naught. So wherever you have t here, capital T, substitute capital T with 2 pi by omega naught. So 2 pi by omega naught means omega naught will be coming over here. So that is the equation we normally going to have. So therefore it is, I can write this as 1 by 2 pi taken outside, applied limits for t tends to infinity, because we should apply it for the finite limits up to t tends to infinity. This particular equation holds good. So therefore into e power j n omega naught t omega naught. So here, as omega naught tends to 0, when t tends to, as t tends to infinity, then this omega naught is becoming very, very small. So therefore, I can convert this omega naught as d omega naught. This is conceptually, we have written this omega naught as d omega naught based on the basic properties of derivations. Derivative basic properties, that when something is changing continuously, shrinking continuously, or changing continuously with respect to something else, we call this as a differential component. So therefore, we write this as differential component. So by doing so, we'll be getting a representation of the inverse Fourier transform. So these two are the very, very important relationships of the Fourier transform representations. So finally, we can write x of omega is nothing but is equal to f of x of t. It tells that If you apply Fourier transform to x of t, we'll be getting a x of omega signal. And similarly, if you apply reverse Fourier transform to x of omega, we'll be getting x of t. So this is what the Fourier transform, inverse Fourier transforms. And next one is pictorial representation of the Fourier transform. See, if we have a sine wave, so remember here, we have represented a waveform. See, this is a waveform represented with respect to time. So because it is a continuous time signal and it is going to be analog signal represented in time domain, we are simply drawing this particular figure with respect to time. Now, after we apply Fourier transforms, this time domain signal is simply converted into frequency domain signal. So when the time domain is converted into frequency domain signal, how do we represent that particular type of the signal? We represent the signal by using two notations. One is going to be magnitude spectrum. Next one is going to be the phase spectrum. When you combine this magnitude and phase spectrum, we usually call it as a frequency spectrum. But most of the people will interchangeably call phase spectrum, magnitude spectrum sometimes suddenly as a frequency spectrum. But as per the concept, the when you include magnitude and phase spectrum, it is known as the frequency spectrum for us. So the magnitude and phase spectrum of Fourier transform is a mathematical tool used to analyze the transformed signal. So here we have to analyze about the frequency components, about the various frequency components that are normally going to exist in the system output or in the signal, which is the system output. Now, how can we write the entire signal, Fourier transform signal, as the real part of the signal plus imaginary part of the signal? This I stands for imaginary, capital R stands for the real part. So here we write this as suffix r to designate that it is a real part. We write suffix I to designate it as a imaginary part. So therefore this xr of omega is the real part of x of omega, and xi of omega is the imaginary part of the x of omega. What is the magnitude value of this? We already know this, how to represent. So the magnitude is going to be simply modulus value. We apply modulus to this, simply square root sum of square under root sum of squares we'll write of this particular equation. So we'll write simply under root sum of squares of the real part, and imaginary part is going to be the absolute value or magnitude value. So that is the representation of the magnitude of the Fourier transformed signal. The next, what is the phase? Phase is nothing but the angle. You already know, angular change, angular displacement is known as phase. So therefore phase is equal to simply y by x. If we consider it is going to be x plus jy, x plus jy. So as the signal part we have x of t, say for example, if I consider this as going to be something like k is equal to x plus jy. So therefore the angle of k is equal to what I can write as y by x, tan inverse of y by x. So the general formula we have for a magnitude and phase from the trigonometry. So finally, what is the conclusion we can make now? The plot we draw between the x of omega versus omega. See, here I have x of omega versus omega. If you draw, it is known as the amplitude spectrum. If you draw a plot between the angle x of omega with omega, it is known as the phase spectrum for us. So here we have magnitude spectrum and a phase spectrum. So in the magnitude spectrum also we can include both real and imaginary part. Phase spectrum also, of course, it is angular displacement basically under consideration. So we can normally going to have this. So therefore the amplitude spectrum and phase spectrum together is called as the frequency spectrum. So in the exam for 2 marks is going to give us what is amplitude spectrum, what is phase spectrum, define amplitude spectrum, define phase spectrum. So all these things are normally quite common questions. And define Fourier transforms, define inverse Fourier transforms, define Fourier series, describe Fourier transform. So all these things are the very, very common questions in the examination. So therefore, for these short answer questions, to answer, you have to remember all these particular basic fundamentals, basic concepts of the Fourier transforms. Now, same as the conditions to be followed for a signal to be represented, in a Fourier series representation, it should satisfy Dirichlet conditions. Here also, same Dirichlet condition should be satisfied uh, for all the non-periodic signals, so that that can be represented using the Fourier transforms. So what you can say that the Fourier transform does not exist for all the aperiodic signals if it does not satisfy the following conditions. So the conditions for a function x of t to have Fourier transform is called Dirichlet conditions. What are the conditions? Now same. See, these finite things is going to be there. Finite discontinuities, finite maxima minima, and the absolute integrable value should be finite. So once again, same funda, same terms are going to come over here also for Dirichlet conditions. So once you remember Dirichlet condition for Fourier series, same thing is applied for Fourier transforms, but only thing is, in the case of the Fourier series, they are defined for infinite time duration, but here we are going to define it for the finite time duration. That is only the change we normally going to incorporate while defining the Dirichlet conditions in the Fourier transforms. So what is the first one now? Now you can interchangeably write these three conditions. Doesn't matter. Nobody cares about which is first, which is the first definition, which is the next condition that you're writing. So I just simply interchanged here. So here x of t is absolutely integrable over the interval minus infinity plus infinity. This condition is same as the additional condition we discussed as the last condition in the Fourier series representations. So that is absolute integrable means what? You have to find out first of all absolute value of the signal, apply integration to that, and over the limits under the over the finite limits minus infinity plus infinity, and it should be less than infinity. Means what? It should give a value. What is infinity? It is unknown. It is infinity. Any value it could be. What is less than infinity? It is going to give you some value, some fixed value. So that is what that. So the function absolute value should give a fixed value for us. Anyway, integration is the one which we have to consider because signal is going to spread over a region of space. So since we are considering the signal over a region of space, obviously you have to apply the integration, because integration is basically applied to consider the entire area of the signal. So therefore, we have to have the integration for a continuous signal to find out its value, because we are in fact finding out the area of the entire signal over the given limits by applying the integration. Therefore, integration is the very important tool we use it here to find out the value of the signal over the given limits. So that is what the application of integration. We are using it here in the electronics subject. Now x of t has a finite number of discontinuities. Same thing I have written here as I have written it in the Fourier series representations. In every finite, now what is the extra thing I'm adding here? In every finite time interval. So x of t has a finite number of discontinuities in every finite time interval. Further, each of these discontinuities must be finite. So that means one extra thing you have to add it here is x of t should have the finite number of discontinuities in every finite time interval only. Finite means what? This minus infinity plus infinity, we are going to consider it as a finite, not infinite. So finite means what? Certain limits we are going to consider, and those limits are going to be considered to be the final limits for us, for the system. So that's what we mean by saying this infinite. So please keep in mind about the simple change in the consideration that we normally going to have it here. So therefore, simply add in every finite time interval, it becomes a Dirichlet condition for the Fourier transform representation. Then same thing now, x of t has a finite number of maximas and minimas in every finite time interval. Once again, this add this in every finite time interval becomes a Dirichlet condition for the Fourier transform representations. Then let us look into some of the functions, basic functions, which are very important. Uh, which are very important, so that because these are the basic functions which we normally use to apply the Fourier transforms. So one is the basic function is going to be known as the sinc function. So sinc function is one of the standard function normally used to represent a Fourier transform signal. So usually the Fourier transform signal is we have to see whenever we do some signal processing, we have to multiply the Fourier transform signal of the system with some other signal in order to get the results. So that means we normally apply a process known as convolution, multiplication. The vector multiplication is known as convolution. Scalar multiplication is anyway going to be the scalar, something like 2 into 3 is a scalar multiplication. X of t into y of t, it is a vector multiplication. So if you do x of t into y of t, it comes under the name, it comes under the name known as convolution. So that is what the discussion we have made in the first unit of our subject. So now in that particular analysis, right, we normally use this kind of signals pretty much. So therefore we have to understand these signals here. So sinc function is one of the standard function used in the analysis of the systems. So it is denoted by sinc of t, SINC. You have to write this as SINC only. It is a separate name defined for this particular type of the signal. Don't take SINK, because so many students are writing this as SINK. SINK is also sync. SINC is also sync. So please write only SINC. Don't write SINK here, because it is a signal representation. If you write SINK, the examiner puts 0 marks for that particular answer. So please make this note. And it can be represented as what? S sync t is equal to sine t by t. That is the representation of the signal. So how it's going to looks like now? This signal, when you simply plot this particular signal value with respect to time, it is going to produce a signal like this. Or that means it is going to be continuously going to be oscillating over the infinite time duration, because this is extending between minus infinity to plus infinity. This is minus infinity towards this is going to be plus infinity. So either way, in the negative as well as positive side, the signal will be going continuously. So therefore the sinc function oscillates with a period of 2 pi and a delay with the increasing t. So therefore increasing t means what? Towards negative side as well as towards positive side. So the sinc function value is 0 at n pi, and it is an even function. Even function means what? Image means mirror image is going to be same. See this line. If you draw a line here, the signal after this line will be same as signal before this line. Same is the case with everywhere in the signal spectrum part, in the signal part. So that's what called uneven function. Okay. So here we normally going to consider for sinc value is going to be 0 at n pi. N pi means what? This is going to be n pi. So this is mistaken written it over here. This is 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, like that it should come. So something mistakenly it has been written as something like 2 pi here, but please correct this. You consider from 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, like that. Okay, 0, pi, 2 pi, like that you please consider. Now as an example, what we can simply write it over here. At t is equal to 0, sinc t is equal to sine 0. Sine 0 is 0. So 0 by 0 is definitely going to be sine 0 by 0 is equal to 1 here. Sinc 0 by 0 is nothing but is equal to 1 for us. So we get here maximum value as 1 here. Then if you change the time period, t is equal to pi by 2 on the time axis. Then sine pi by 2 is equal to 1. Pi by 2 here, it's going to be 2 by pi, it will be less than 1. So as you go beyond 0 towards t is equal to infinity, the value is simply decreasing if you see carefully. So that means it is simply oscillating like this with respect to these kind of the values. So when you simply plot all these things, you're simply going to get this kind of a signal representation, which is known as the sinc function. So therefore, finally the values what we can write as sinc t, the value of sinc t decreases and it is 0 when t is equal to n pi. Okay, it is 0 when t is equal to n pi, where n is going to take all these values. At every n pi, the sinc value is equal to 0. N pi means what? Say if n is equal to 1. So t is equal to pi. At pi you should get 0. Okay, similarly, if n is equal to 2, it is going to be 2 pi. At 2 pi, it should be 0. Okay, please correct this as pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, like that. Then you normally going to get the same result. Then another special function we have is going to be the sinc function. Very important. Sinc function is also an important thing we have here. So therefore, sinc function is what? Sorry, signum function. So signum function is represented like this. It is a function which is going to have values for all, which is going to have the what is that? Unit step values for every time period after t is equal to 0 and before t is equal to 0. And the value after t is equal to plus t is equal to 0 is going to be plus 1, and the value before t is equal to 0 would be equal to minus 1. So that is what the signum function all about. So therefore, the signum function, so mistakenly written as n here, you have to remove n here. Please remove n here. It is sigum, signum of t is equal to signum of t. I can write this as this. I can write as, please remove this I here. Sgn I can write. So of t is equal to 1 minus 1, where t is going to be greater than 0. T is going for t greater than 0. The value of the signal is 1. See, for t less than 0, this is less than 0. This is 0. T is equal to 0 point. 0 less than t less than 0, it is going to be minus 1. T greater than 0, it will be plus 1. So that function is known as signum function. So as it is a combination of the step signals, we can write this signum function as going to be what now? Signum of t is equal to minus 1 plus 2 into u of t is known as the signum function. So next one is going to be a rectangular function. Now you know what is a rectangular function. This is a rectangular function. This is the shape of a rectangle. Any signal which is in the shape of a rectangle is obviously a rectangular function. Now I am writing it is as if like a periodic signal. So under the limits under consideration of minus infinity, the signal should not get repeated in the limited region of t is equal to minus infinity plus infinity. That is the consideration here. So therefore here I can write this rectangular function as something like this, where the time period is going to be minus, extending between minus t by 2 to capital plus t by 2, and this value is going to be taken as equal to 1 here. So the value is going to be taken as equal to 1 for all the time periods. Mod t means what? Plus or minus t we're going to consider, small t plus or minus t we're going to consider, and less than or equal to t by 2. So the value is going to exist for t less than capital T by 2, and for t and t less, for mod t less than equal to capital T by 2. So capital minus capital T by 2. So only values exist only in these limits. So therefore, this is the limit I am writing it here. So the value is normally going to be 1. So usually we take unit values to represent the signals. So for example, if capital T is equal to say 1, total capital T is equal to 1. So then I can write this as minus 1 by 2. Here I am going to write this plus 1 by 2. So therefore, mod t less than or equal to 1 by 2 I can have. This is pi of t I can write. Pi of small t. So that is the representation of the signum function. Sorry, rectangular function. So rectangular function, if you see, it is also an even function. It is also an even function. If you see the signum function, it is an odd function, because see this particular it is not having a mirror image. That means before, if you draw a line here, 0 line, after 0 line the signal is going like this. Before t is equal to 0, the signal should be like this. If the signal is extended like this, it is going to have a mirror image. So I can call it as even function, but it is not so. So therefore it is called as an even, it is called as an odd function. It is a signum function is an odd function. In the exam, will ask us justify how or why signum function is an odd function. So therefore, to justify that, simply write down this signal function representation, draw this particular signal representation, and explain this particular thing and say that it is because of this function is an odd function of t. So that's how you have to explain. Similarly for rectangular pulse signal, and next one is going to be the triangular pulse signal. Now what is the triangular pulse signal? Triangular pulse is going to be a combination of the ramp signals. See, this is a increasingly ramp signal, decreasing ramp signal. So more or less it is going to be a ramp signal only. Combination of ramp is going to be the triangular signal. So a unit triangular pulse signal I can represent as a of, with respect to t by, sorry, this is going to be small t by capital T. Shown below, it is defined as what? A of small t by capital T is equal to, I can write this as 1 minus, See, at t is equal to 0, if t is equal to 0, 0 by something is 0, so it's going to be unity. So it should be maximum value is going to be unity. All right. Now, once you go beyond 0, now what is the value I can write? This is a ramp. So ramp means what? Forget about increasing or decreasing ramp. So just concentrate on the magnitude. What is the ramp magnitude? Alpha t. Ramp signal is equal to. Alpha is nothing but slope. Slope is nothing but dy by dx. So therefore here dy by dt I can have, because we have a time period here, dy by dt I can write. So therefore what is dy here? Dy is going to be simply 1 over here by dt. What is dt here? It is going to be t by 2 minus 0 is going to be t by 2. So t by 2, capital T by 2, if I write here, this 2 will come on the top side in the numerator. Then I can write 2 mod t, 2 mod small t by capital T. So that is the signal representation here I am normally going to have. So if you use a modulus symbol, I'll be considering it for either of the time periods, positive time as well as negative time. Now see this now. This is an even function. Why it is an even function? With respect to the zero line, this signal is simply mirror image of this. Sorry. This is a mirror image of this. So therefore, I can call it as a even function. So similarly, if I take t is equal to 1, I can simply write it like this: 1 minus 2 mod t, all these things. Next signal is going to be the Gaussian function. So this Gaussian function is normally used in the uh, communication system, to recover the original signal. So that is what the application is normally going to be in a communication systems. We use the Gaussian signals or Gaussian functions. So the Gaussian function or Gaussian signal is represented as below. G of t is equal to e power minus AAT square. Okay, for all the time periods t minus infinity plus infinity. So as it is exponential signal, it will be exponentially increasing at some value. Then once again, it will be decreasing exponentially. So this particular signal is known as a Gaussian type of the signal. It is a Gaussian signal or a Gaussian spectrum. So this is what one of the special function we normally use for the analysis of the communication systems. So next, some of the other useful functions which we have to be discussed in the Fourier transforms. One of the basic thing is going to be the impulse signal. Already we discussed about the impulse signal basic form. Impulse is nothing but in a scalar form. If you think about impulse, it is going to be 1. 1 is a unity. That means it is a unit impulse function. So unit impulse function, scalar value is normally finite value is always going to be 1 definitely. So therefore I can represent this impulse signal as delta of t. That is the representation. You have to write the symbolic representations as it is for the impulse signal, step signal, symbolic representations they are. You have to define it like that only. So please don't change that signal representation in the exam. So you normally lose the marks. So therefore delta of t is equal to 1 for t is equal to 0 under consideration, and it is 0 otherwise. That means if you consider that you want the signal at a particular instance, say t is equal to 0, only at that instance we should get this particular signal here, and that value it is going to be 1 in that limit. Then that particular signal is known as a unit impulse signal delta of t. Okay, that is what the signal which we normally going to have. And other than that particular time period, all the time period signal value is normally equal to 0. For all t less than 0, it will be equal to 0. So 0 means it is need not be exactly 0 under 0 means what? Based on our analysis, we consider at a point on the time axis. So that is a reference point that we consider. That reference point is taken as 0. T is equal to 0. Right. Now we apply the Fourier transform to such a signal. What is the result we get? That is an important result for us. Very important concept here. So what is the formula for Fourier transforms? X of omega is an integral of x of t e power minus j omega t dt. So here x of t is equal to delta of t. We already know that. So x of omega is equal to what I can write? Integral of delta of t e power minus j omega t dt. So delta of t, what is delta of t? it is equal to definitely 1. So therefore I can represent it as equal to 1. So if I take t is equal to 0 in this limit also, e power 0, something like it is also going to be equal to 1 for us. So therefore, I can just simply have the value as 1 over here. So the value for x of omega is simply equal to 1. So therefore, Fourier transform of delta of t is equal to 1. So that means what is the spectrum that we can have here? See, this is the time domain signal. Time domain means what? With respect to time, delta of t means what? With respect to time, it is a unit step function representation. When you transform this into frequency domain, how it is been seen? This is been seen like this with respect to frequency. That means this signal is going to have all the frequency components on the omega axis or frequency axis under consideration. So therefore, this is what the amplitude spectrum which we can normally going to have. What about the phase spectrum? Phase spectrum is normally 0 for us. So for phase spectrum, you should have two components. We don't have two components, just only unity component. Therefore, the phase is normally equal to 0 phase. So therefore, phase spectrum is going to be 0. So this is what the representation of the Fourier transform of the impulse signal. So this is very, very important conclusion here that you have to keep it in the mind. If you apply Fourier transform to the impulse signal, we get 1 as the value. We get 1 as the value. So that is what the final representation which we have to undergo. Now we can apply the property now. What property we're applying here? See, time shifting property. Inside this delta, I'm shifting the time of the delta. Now earlier it was 0. I was talking to you. 0 is a reference line. Now I'm shifting from now. After some time, I want a point at I want the signal at some other point, say t naught. Then I shift the signal, right shifted signal now. Then I apply this. So delta of t minus t naught into this one I can write. So I'll be getting this at the t naught time period. So therefore I'm writing this as e power minus j omega t naught as a signal I'm normally going to have it here. So therefore the Fourier transform for this delta of t minus t naught stands to be e power minus j omega t naught. So this is what we normally going to have. So like this, we can solve some of the other basic forms for the signals in terms of the Fourier transforms. So we end up here in today's session. In the next class, we go with the other examples, some of the other special functions. And after that, one more class we'll take to complete some other problems. So with that, we'll simply end up the Fourier transform class, this particular unit called fourth unit. Then we jump on to third unit. Okay. Thank you very much for today's session.